Adopting the above regulation provides the highest level of voluntary compliance with the least expense at the highest level of compliance. Houston's enforcement is almost identical to Fort Worth. Heavy enforcement, 6 police officers, Houston Police Department Major Offense Division, Environmental Investigation Unit. In a year and a half, they almost took 60% of detergents in the storm drain and took them down to the same level that Fort Worth has through basically real heavy police action. And they started with their contractor cleaning on May the 14th of 2007. If anybody interested, see me. I got a video of that major offense, that presentation they made. I was there. Houston detergent and storm drains was 18 to 55% before the enforcement effort. After the enforcement effort, Houston detergents in the storm drain dropped to 2.5%. Now that 2.5% compares to Fort Worth's 1%, but the way the data is collected, I'm not able to say whether the Fort Worth's 1% is higher or lower than Houston's 2.5%. You know, it'll be from my background's in engineering. I know enough about collecting data that I can't say that either one of those numbers are higher or lower than the other. They're both equivalent, but they're two different ways to get to the same thing. So what I'm saying is all of you municipalities, you're going to have to decide how you want to get there. I got 2 ways you can get there. One is with voluntary compliance, and another was with real heavy enforcement. They'll both get you there. And the EPA doesn't tell you how to get there, they just tell you you have to get there. There's almost no detectable difference in the results between the two cities. There is a big difference in implementation and enforcement costs. Lessons to be learned for every community. Which of these procedures or a combination of these procedures will work best for you? Those are decisions you're going to have to make on a local basis. I'll give you 2 very significant guidelines to follow. Industry helped draft the ordinance based on the public comment period July 17, 95. Voluntary compliance, access to the sanitary sewer. They give access to the sanitary sewer for all normal wastewater generated by the contract cleaner without any restrictions. When they go in for $50, they get a permit. They don't say you can't use this detergent, you can't use this cleaner, you can't use this degreaser. There's none of that. They accept it all. And because of that success that Fort Worth has had, Dallas now accepts wastewater from the contract cleaners just without any requirements, doing the same thing. Implemented on January the 2nd of 1996. No testing of the wastewater required. The reason why that's significant, I had one major municipality that wanted to charge $350 in tests every load that the contract cleaner give to the POTW. So what do you think that's going to do? So you're going to drive the business away, or it's going to force it to nights and weekends when enforcement is at its lowest. Houston does service on a major training May the 14th of 2007. Heavy enforcement, limited access to the sanitary sewer, high standards for BMPs, including dye testing of portable dams and drain covers. Cost is 6 major offense division enforcement officers. Now they do things besides look for cosmetic cleaning, but that's part of their duties. Oklahoma City is similar to Fort Worth, except require an industrial pre-treatment permit and limited access to the sanitary sewer. So what this going to mean? It's going to mean it's going to raise the numbers. Can you see how the numbers for Oklahoma City come up just because they limited access to the sanitary sewer? That's what's going to happen. If you limit access to the sanitary sewer, you're going to end up with this stuff into the storm drains. Dallas provides no fact sheet or BMPs. They just allow discharge to the sanitary sewer. Once you have made these choices, how am I doing on time? I'll try to go as fast as I can. There's going to be some things. Everybody's an environmentalist, and I already touched a little bit on how that affects your economic revenue stream. The most significant is the Corn Up Car Wash Association wanting to shut down charity car washes and bring them all to the Cornup car wash place to have them done there. The main thing you're going to run into is a municipal conflict. You're going to have your stormwater people saying nothing down the drain but rain, and you're going to have your sanitary sewer people saying we don't want the wastewater. That's almost standard. That's where it starts out. The municipalities start out from that point. You got one department saying we don't want the wastewater. You got the other department that says we don't want it either. You know, so you don't give the contractor an economic alternative, a realistic place to put it. And Fort Worth wouldn't have either if it hadn't been for that public comment period and a large amount of contractors showing up at one time. You know, that mailing almost got really violent. It was a lot more violent. It was on a factor of a scale of 1 to 10. If Fort Worth was 10, Houston was a 4 when they presented their stuff. That was a difference in the way the industry reacted. And Fort Worth retrenched and rethought about it, and they said we don't know who's going to enforce it, who's going to license these people. I mean, who's going to take their money? And after they thought about it, they said, I guess what we're really worried about is the silt and the sludge and the sand coming into the sanitary sewer, not the chemicals. So they said, why don't we put filtration in place? So we agreed to that. And then we went through the oil absorbent booms to take out, because that's so expensive, so inexpensive, and it could be done really cheaply to do that. And then they said the environmental department would be the people who go out and write the tickets, and the sanitary sewer department would be the one to collect the money and issue the certificates. So that's the way they decided after they thought about it. But when that meeting was held, they did not know how they were going to do it yet. But most communities that would work. Mostly the sanitary sewer department doesn't want to take it because they have never taken it before, and they're worried about what they'll be getting. They're worried about what they'll have discharged to them. But it's not so much significant as what they'll be discharged, it's the volume. There's very, very low volume that comes in with it. The other thing we have is what I call silent compliance. The municipality doesn't take any enforcement action. They let the contractor discharge to the sanitary sewer, but they never tell him he can or he can't. I'm not picking on Houston, but I just had a situation in Houston to where we had a contractor talk to the city of Houston, run it through two oil absorbent booms down into the storm drain. They come out, tested water, and they never did tell him whether he could continue on or not. He finished up the job and finally left, and they come tested it. We couldn't figure out what was going on. We finally said, well, either Houston's got their own lab or they're sending that out. So we called all the labs, and we found out the lab that it went to. And then we asked them for the results, and they wouldn't give them to us because they said the city of Houston paid for it. So then we had to go back to the city of Houston, and they finally released the information to us. Well, they tested it for fats, oil, and grease, and they come in at 48 ppm, and Houston limit was 50 ppm. So, but what I'm saying is that's not unusual. A lot of municipalities do that. They'll go look at the contract cleaner. They'll say, yeah, you're doing good, but they won't tell him he can or can't. They just don't take any action at all. So from the industry point of view, it's kind of confusing because you're not sure where you're at. And I tell everybody you got to live with a level of risk management. You're not going to get people to say yes or no. They're going to allow you to do it without saying anything. I call it silent compliance. And we have a lot of contract cleaners right now that are discharging wastewater into your POTW, not asking permission. And the municipalities aren't saying anything about it. And when I bring it up to the attention of the regulators, they say, well, that's acceptable. At least it's going where it needs to be going, and we're not going to take any enforcement action right now to make them stop it. We're going to take it, but we won't say, yeah, they can take it. And there's more than one municipality doing that. I would say there's more municipalities doing that than they're just not doing anything.